As you can see, my little Sonic hat had a bit of a mishap over the weekend, so it's probably going to be more of a silhouette head now instead of having, like, the big logo on it and everything, and sorry about that. And, oh yeah, I know it's July, so of course I'm wearing the Superman basketball jersey, so yeah. So I'm going to be wearing stuff that totally has nothing to do with anything that I'm talking about, but I don't care. Because this is my favorite hat, and Superman is finally coming out this month. I am so freaking excited to see it. Okay. I gotta calm down now, I'm sorry. Okay. So, welcome back to Ghibli Month. Welcome back to Animation Station, your number station for anything and everything animation, and yep, it's time to talk about the next Ghibli movie. 3 days late. Sorry, it's been a bit crazy as of late, but today you should be able to get a bunch of reviews. Starting with this one and 2 other Ghibli movies. So you're getting 3 Ghibli reviews and 1 or 2 Dexter reviews. So let's start with Castle in the Sky, shall we? This is a movie that I had no idea what to expect going into it. I saw when I was doing research on it that this is another one of those movies that did get a re-release by Disney with a proper rebuilt English dub. So that did give me some hope, especially after how much I loved Nausicaa. But, oh man, this might be my favorite Ghibli movie I've seen so far. Keep in mind, I've only seen 4 or 5 of them up to this point. So I am really excited to talk about this one with you, because this is going to be right up there with one of my favorite adventure movies of all time. Right up there with National Treasure, right up there with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It is one of the best adventure movies that I have ever watched. And you're going to hear me say that a lot during this Ghibli marathon. I just know it, because so much of it is like, oh, this is like the best adventure movie I've ever watched. This is the best fantasy movie I've ever watched. Like, I'm starting to realize very quickly that Ghibli just works for me, and I'm super happy to finally do reviews on them. So, with all that said and done, let's get into the review. It's another long one, because we have a lot to talk about. Here we go. This is my review of Castle in the Sky. Following the incredible artistry of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, needless to say that my hopes for Studio Ghibli's second animated movie, Castle in the Sky, were soaring up into the heavens. Along with a little bit of concern because this one's more of an adventure film rather than the tragic fantasy film that Nausicaa was. And usually if you're switching genres like that, it's a bit dodgy. Sometimes it works, and other times you get something that, I don't know, doesn't feel as significant as the other. However, those fears will immediately put to rest within the first 10 minutes. Yes, this movie won me over that quick, as it not only matched the high quality of Nausicaa, but dare I say it actually surpassed it. Like I said, out of all the Ghibli movies I've seen so far, this might be my favorite. When a young man named Pazu meets a young girl named Cheetah after she falls from the sky, he finds himself thrust into adventure of pirates, corrupt military, and the search for an ancient castle that his father spent his life searching for before him. Once again, gotta start with the voice cast of the Disney re-release English dub because it is stacked. First we have Anna Paquin, a second X-Men alumni. This is the actress. This is the actress that plays Rogue in the Fox X-Men movies. And this is one of her first ever roles, just like with Loman in Nausicaa. James Vanderbeek from Dawson's Creek, the late great Cloris Leachman from Phineas and Ferb, another late legend, and Richard, apologies if I mispronounce your name, Dysart from John Carpenter's The Thing. Yes, that automatically wins some brownie points because I'm a horror nut. Good old Pooh Bear himself, Jim Cummings, John Hostetter from Beverly Hills Cop 2, another Disney alumni in Michael McShane from A Bug's Life, a second appearance from both Mark Hamill and Trez MacNeille, and even Jimmy Neutron herself, Debbie Derryberry. And just like Nausicaa, they all deliver wonderful performances, especially Leachman and Vanderbeek, who are amazing all throughout the movie, as well as, of course, Paquin in her first ever role. Think about that. This is her first ever role, and this was like, what, 2 or 3 years before she ended up getting the role of Rogue in X-Men. That's really cool. But the real stars of this one are, without a doubt, its animation and its remarkable storytelling. Especially the flying scenes. Like, whether you're in those giant gunships, tiny little planes, or like those little dragonfly things. It is amazing for the former, which are so amazing they did remind me a lot of How to Train Your Dragon, in just its pure scope and scale. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the inspirations for How to Train Your Dragon. And as for the latter, it's due to some truly spectacular writing that makes the story intricate, but here's the important thing, it doesn't copy Nausicaa, as it makes this one into a fun, mostly lighthearted adventure, rather than a serious dark commentary, which really shows how Ghibli did their best to make it stand out from its own other film, while still keeping some of that same inspiration. Like, it's still the same art style, there's still some dark elements, but it's not a dark, heavy commentary like Nausicaa was. And usually with films like this from familiar studios, sometimes they copy certain elements going into a next movie, or in the case of classic Disney, for example, sometimes outright reuse their old animation from other movies. We talked all about that when I reviewed Robin Hood, if you don't remember. Like, seriously, that is amazing. Then you add on unforgettable characters. I love Pazu, I love Sheeta, I love the pirate woman, sorry I'm already forgetting her name. I love her little gang of sons that go with her pirating, and even some of the extra side characters are really fascinating. A fast pace, much faster pace than Nausicaa. Amazing world building. This world building is like on a whole other level. It is so good all throughout this movie. A fun, lighthearted tone with a few dark elements sprinkled in, mainly towards the end. A perfect runtime of barely over 2 hours that flies by. This is longer than Nausicaa, but I didn't even feel it. Like, it flied by really quick. An outstanding finale. The finale of this movie is amazing. Like, just like Nausicaa, it's amazing. And a really cute pseudo-romance between the two leads that feels refreshingly genuine. Yes, it's debatable whether or not it's an actual romance, but these two together, Pazu and Sheeta, the moments that they share together, are so freaking cute and adorable. Like, whether it's Pazu standing up for her, or when they're running away together on that train while they're getting chased by two different opposing forces, or the scene towards the end where he stands by her side as they do something that may or may not kill them. It's adorable. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's adorable and refreshingly genuine, whether it's an actual romance or not. So, what's the problem this time? Well, unfortunately, it's a slightly bigger problem than Nausicaa, and that is that the villain sucks. Big time. Look, Hamill does a great job with the voice, and it is always awesome hearing him playing a protagonist. I mean, he's animated series Joker. Like, he is like the definitive voice for animated Joker. But Nausicaa, however you pronounce his name, himself, is just a corrupt, power-hungry bore that has no discernible character or complexity. He's just evil for evil's sake, and he is a far cry from the villains in Nausicaa. Like, I love the villains in Nausicaa. They did an incredible job working the way that they needed to work. Sure, every now and then they felt a little pointless in a few scenes when it's all focused on the forest and the insects, but they were still there, they were still an opposing force, and they were still present. This guy is extremely forgettable and generic. Like, as much as I love this movie, that is the one thing that will keep me from being able to call it a masterpiece, because the villain in this movie is terrible. Terrible to almost the point of laughable, because he's so flat. Like, if you've seen characters like him before in other places, yeah, you're gonna see that same thing here again, with little to no differentiation from the actual template of that caricature. That is a small price to pay, though, as this is still an all-around fantastic animated movie that, while it lacks the heavy themes of Nausicaa, it more than makes up for it in its pure creativity and wonderful lead characters. Anyone who loves adventure films like Indiana Jones or National Treasure should absolutely check this one out. It is undeniably worth the search and a very strong second outing for Studio Ghibli. It is more than worth your time, and that is why its final verdict is the same as Nausicaa. 9.5 out of 10. Super high, super well deserved, and my favorite Ghibli movie that I have watched so far. Next time, though, oh boy, get the tissues ready. Because their third film, the next one we have to talk about, rips hearts out. Because their next movie just so happens to be one of the most depressing, dark, and unrelentingly heartbreaking things that I have ever watched. It's going to be a really tough conversation. And no surprise, it is one that Disney did not re-release. And it's for very, very understandable reasons. So, next time is going to be a very depressing review, but trust me when I say it's not because the movie is bad. It's because the movie itself is depressing. See you next time for Grave of the Fireflies. And get your tissues ready, people, because it is intense.
Excited for what comes up ahead.